Hello, movie lovers. I'm Adam. This is Does It Hold Up? I've been off for the last 2 weeks for vacation, but I am back to bring you the weekly box office update. Normally we start with what were the top 10 movies this past weekend, but we're going to go back a little bit and just take a look at how the 2 weekends played out that I was off, just so we can be caught up on kind of where we're at right now. So, the week of February 16th to February 18th. Let's look at those. In first place, new that week, was Bob Marley One Love with $28.5 million. Second place was the abysmally bad Madam Web, also new, taking in only $15 million in its opening weekend. But both of those movies did come out on Valentine's Day, which was Wednesday of that week, so they had a little bit of money before the weekend actually came. But showing for Madam Web, only $23.5 million for its opening weekend, including Wednesday through Sunday. Pathetic. And that movie barely deserved that much. Argylle was in third place that week. Migration in fourth place in its 9th week, holding very strong with a positive 30% increase. The Chosen episodes 4 through 6 was new that week as well, with $3.6 million. In 6th place was Wonka, holding pretty well with a 15% increase, with another 3.5, just under $210 million. Beekeeper was in 7th, Anyone But You in 8th. Lisa Frankenstein dropped really poorly in its 2nd week, with only $2 million. Yes, that number's 43% drop. That's usually not that bad of a number, but when you opened up so terribly, like Lisa Frankenstein did, that's a really bad drop. And rounding out the top 10 from that week was Land of Bad, a movie that nobody heard of, and I'm surprised anybody went and saw. 4 movies fell out of the top 10 that week. First was The Chosen, episodes 1 through 3 after 3 weeks, Mean Girls after 5 weeks, American Fiction for the 2nd time in 9 weeks, and Dune, which was re-released in theaters for everybody to get prepared for Dune Part 2. It was in the top 10 for 1 week. Let's go ahead and move forward to February 23rd through the 25th, last weekend. Number 1 was Bob Marley One Love, again in its 2nd week with another $13.5 million, a 53% drop, not too bad. Demon Slayer, a Fathom event. Anime does really well when it comes to theater stuff. Its opening weekend is usually pretty big. It shows that anime is really finding a niche of its own. I know it's been doing it for years. I've watched a ton of animes. I'm a big fan. I've never watched Demon Slayer. Maybe I should. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. Should I check out Demon Slayer? Should I go back and watch all these? Because they keep releasing these movies that do really well in theaters, and I'm always surprised by it. But it took in an $11.5 million that weekend. Ordinary Angels in 3rd place, new to the list with $6.1 million. Madam Web has a huge drop of 61%, takes in $5.9 million. Migration dropped to 5th place this week, and it took in $2.8 million, but only dropped 25%. Migration's just been doing really well. In 6th place that week was Argylle, with a 44% drop and $2.7 million. Wonka in its 11th week, still in the top 10 with another $2.5 million. Drive Away Dolls was new to the list, and it took in $2.4 million, which is kind of sad. I thought the movie might do a little bit better. And Beekeeper, 8th place in its 7th week with just under $2 million. The Chosen, episodes 4 through 6, in its 2nd week, took in $1.8 million. 3 movies fell out of the top 10 that weekend. It was Land of Bad, which, no surprise, Lisa Frankenstein, which is a little bit of a surprise, and Anyone But You finally falls out after 9 weeks in the top 10. Okay, let's get to this past weekend. I'm back, I've done the numbers. Let's take a look at it and dive a little bit deeper into some of these movies. The number 1 movie of this weekend was, no surprise whatsoever, it was Dune Part 2. $81.5 million is nothing to laugh about. In fact, the original Dune from 2021 only made $110 million in its entire theatrical run domestically. Yes, I know the pandemic hurt it quite a bit, but that's still a decent number. This movie made just under that in just its opening weekend. That's insane. Dune Part 2 is gonna go on to probably be about a $200 million movie. The critics are loving it. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. I'm actually checking it out the day after this video comes out. and I should have a review up this coming weekend. In its third week, Bob Marley One Love drops to second place with 7.4 million, a 45% drop. So two 40% drops, but it's holding pretty well. It's already made just under 83 million. Ordinary Angel stays in third place in its second weekend. Numbers hadn't officially come in for this one by the time I'm recording this video, so estimated 3.8 million, a 38% drop. It's at about 12.5 million already. In fourth place is The Chosen, again, but this time it's episodes 7 through 8, and it made 3.2 million, good enough for fourth place. Madam Web, in its third week, drops another 46%, 3.1 million. Bob Marley and Madam Web came out the same exact weekend. And Bob Marley's already made just under 83 million. Madam Web just barely crosses 40 million. That goes to show you that it doesn't matter if you're IP or if you're not, as long as it's a good movie. In sixth place, still doing pretty well, is Migration in its 11th week with 2.5 million, a 13% drop, but it's crossed 120 million domestically, so pretty sure Illumination is very happy with that movie. Demon Slayer has a hefty drop of 82%, which is no surprise. Usually these anime films come in with a big bang and then kind of disappear really quickly. It made just over $2 million for 15.7 million at the box office. Wonka, unbelievably, is still in the top 10 in its 12th week. It takes in another 1.7 million, a 30% drop. It's at 216 million domestically, which is insane. We reviewed this movie on the channel here when it first came out. We weren't big fans of it. I'm shocked that it's still doing this well. But then I have to remember, what competition has it had? There's really been nothing that has challenged moviegoers to see other than Wonka. So I still don't think the movie's that good, and I'm surprised it got this high. Argyle comes in 9th place in its 5th week, a 49% drop for 1.3 million. It's creeping its way along. It's just under 44 million right now, but it's probably going to end around 45, 46 million and gone next weekend. The Beekeeper, still in the top 10 in its 8th week with 1.1 million, 43% drop, 65 million overall. That's a movie that came out the same weekend as Mean Girls, and yet it's still in the top 10. Go figure. Two movies fell out of the top 10 this past weekend. One hurts me, Drive Away Dolls, after just 1 week. Ugh, that's sad. I thought that movie was going to do a lot better. And The Chosen, episodes 4 through 6, also drops out after 2 weeks, mostly because they pulled it from pretty much every theater out there. You can't really see that one anymore because they want you to go see episodes 7 and 8 now. Let's go ahead and take a look at what are the top 10 movies so far of 2024. And again, we only look at the money movies brought in this year. If you released in 2023, late 2023, I'm not counting any of the money that you made that year, just what you've made in this calendar year, 2024. Wonka stays in first place with 83.6 million. Bob Marley jumps onto the list, and it would have jumped onto the list before, but, I was off for 2 weeks, so this is what we're going with. Bob Marley jumps into second place with 82.7 million. Dune Part 2, after just 1 weekend, jumps into third place with that 82.5 million. Mean Girls drops 2 spots to fourth place. Migration drops 2 spots to fifth. Beekeeper drops 1 to sixth place. Anyone But You has the biggest drop this week, all the way from fourth place down to seventh place with just under 63 million. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom drops to 8th place. Argyle stays in 9th. And somehow, Madam Web jumps onto the list in the 10th spot with that 40.4 million. A couple movies did drop out since the last time I updated this chart. It was Night Swim, The Boys in the Boat, and Poor Things. That's it for the box office. So, I can understand if you want to turn the video off right now, but please don't, because we're going to talk a little bit about the Oscars. Those are happening this weekend, this Sunday. It's the biggest movie event of the year, or at least it used to be. I'm not so sure it still is, but I know a lot of people get excited for it. I personally haven't missed an Oscars ceremony in over a decade. I watch them all. I'm very interested in what awards go to what movie. I always make my predictions. Sometimes I do really well, and sometimes I don't understand what the hell the Academy is thinking. So, As always, I made predictions for all 23 categories, but I'm not going to tell you all 23. Okay? If you want to hear that, go listen to our podcast called Does It Hold Up, where Emily and I, you know Emily, she's the one who always is on movie reviews with me. We have a podcast called Does It Hold Up, and we just released an episode, that episode comes out the day after this one releases on March 6th, where we talk all about our predictions for each and every category. But if you don't have time to go listen to that whole podcast, I am going to bring you my predictions for a few of the bigger categories. I don't know. It's kind of fun. First up is adapted screenplay. I always think the writers kind of get skirted to the side a lot when it comes to these ceremonies, but without them, there is no movie. So I like making sure they get some kind of recognition. Your nominees for adapted screenplay are American Fiction, Barbie, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. I really think it's going to go to Oppenheimer. It wouldn't surprise me if it went to any of these other ones. It's a very strong category this year, but Oppenheimer's going to go ahead and get my pick. I think it's just going to ride this wave of momentum through some of the categories where it's iffy. Because it's going to win so many other awards, they're just going to end up giving it to Oppenheimer for some of these smaller ones as well. 13 nominations is not a fluke. It's going to win quite a few of those. Let's move on to original screenplay. Nominees are Anatomy of a Fall, The Holdovers, Maestro, May December, Past Lives. I think this is a two-horse race. It's between The Holdovers and May December. I'm not sure where to go here, but I do think The Holdovers has more potential to win rather than anything else, which is why that is going to be my prediction. The Holdovers for original screenplay. Animated feature. One of my favorite categories because these movies are usually just amazing. Your nominees are The Boy and the Heron, Elemental, Nimona, Robot Dreams, and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Once again, I feel like this is a two-horse race. It's either going to be The Boy and the Heron or Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I personally would not give it to Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse because that is not a complete movie. That is a part one that definitely just ends in the middle of the story. It's one of the things I didn't like about the movie. You didn't solve anything. It's literally just stuff. Sorry, come back in 2 years to kind of see how it finishes up. Not okay, guys. Especially because that movie just keeps getting delayed. They haven't even really started working on it yet. And we're almost a year removed since it came out. That's a video for another time. But I do think the Academy kind of loves that movie. They did give Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse the award back in 2018. So to follow it up would be kind of interesting. But I think it's Miyazaki's turn to win. So I'm going to go ahead and give the award to The Boy and the Heron. That is an incredible film. Miyazaki's been making incredible films for decades now. It's about time he got some love. And this isn't just a, hey man, we probably should have gave you one 10 years ago when we messed up. Here's your award. This is really just his time to shine. This is the most commercial movie he's probably ever made that's had the biggest audience. It made the most money here domestically. More people saw this movie than any other Miyazaki film. So I do believe it's going to win Best Animated Feature. Actor in a supporting role, this is going to go to Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. I think he personally was the worst part of Oppenheimer. I think anybody else in that movie was a million times better than him. If I had to choose with my heart, would give it to Sterling K. Brown for American Fiction. He stole every scene he was in, but the Academy loves Robert Downey Jr. That's who's going to get that award. Let's move to actress in a supporting role. Your nominees are Emily Blunt for Oppenheimer, Danielle Brooks, The Color of Purple, America Ferrera for Barbie, Jodie Foster for Nyad, and Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. It's going to go to Divine Joy Randolph for The Holdovers. She's won every award in this category where she's been nominated. It's going to be no different come Oscar night. Actor in a leading role. Cillian Murphy is the frontrunner. Who he's going to beat out? Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Coleman Domingo for Rustin, Jeffrey Wright for American Fiction, and Paul Giamatti for The Holdovers. Paul Giamatti's the only one I can see giving Cillian a run for his money, considering the fact that Paul Giamatti won Best Actor in a Comedy at the Golden Globes, but Cillian Murphy has pretty much swept everything else. he's not going to lose. Actress in a leading role: Annette Bening for Naiad, meh. Lily Gladstone, Killers of the Flower Moon. Sandra Huller for Anatomy of a Fall. Carey Mulligan for Maestro. And Emma Stone for Poor Things. This one's a tricky one. Emma Stone has a lot of potential to win this award. She's a former nominee, a former winner. The Academy might pick her, and her performance in Poor Things is absolutely spectacular. But Lily Gladstone is the sentimental favorite. I don't think her performance was all that groundbreaking or really all that good. I think she was kind of boring in Killers of the Flower Moon, but she is the heart choice. She's the sentimental favorite. She's the one that people are kind of rooting for. So I do believe she's going to get the award, but I would not be shocked if it went to Emma Stone. My worry with this category is we might end up seeing something, a huge twist here. And Sandra Huller might end up winning for Anatomy of a Fall. And that's because I believe Lily Gladstone and Emma Stone might split votes here and allow Sandra to come in and get this award. This is one of the races I'm actually really interested in. Directing, 2 more awards in this video. Directing, Justin Triet for Anatomy of a Fall, Martin Scorsese, Killers of the Flower Moon, Christopher Nolan for Oppenheimer, Yorgos Lanthimos for Poor Things, Jonathan Glazer for The Zone of Interest. Christopher Nolan, congratulations, sir. Here's your award. You're going to win. Sorry to everybody else in this category. It was nice just to be nominated. And finally, Best Picture. Your 10 nominees are American Fiction, Anatomy of a Fall, Barbie, The Holdovers, Killers of the Flower Moon, Maestro, Oppenheimer, Past Lives, Poor Things, and The Zone of Interest. It's Oppenheimer, guys. It's been Oppenheimer since Oppenheimer first came out. It's going to be Oppenheimer on the night. My brain will literally explode if any of these other movies wins this award. I just don't see it happening. They're going to end with Oppenheimer, one of the biggest movies of 2023, one of the best movies of 2023, going to close out the ceremony and get this award. All right, so that's all my predictions. But just to finish up real quick, I do have a problem with the Best Picture category. They used to only nominate 5. Way back in the day, in the 30s, 40s, they nominated 10 movies. Then they changed it and said, no, we're just going to nominate 5. And then they decided, no, that's not enough. We're going to go back to nominating 10. Here's my problem. Sometimes there's just not 10 great movies. Zone of Interest, although a lot of people seem to love it, not a great movie. American Fiction, probably not worth a nomination. Past Lives, same thing. I'm not saying they're not great movies. I'm just saying they're not worthy of, in my opinion, a nomination for Best Picture. I wish the Academy would change this category a little bit. And instead of always nominating 10, just say we can nominate anywhere from 5 to 10. So if there's only 7 great movies that year, nominate 7. If there's only 5, nominate 5. If there really are 10 fantastic movies, nominate all 10. There's no reason we need to put 10 movies in this category. Yes, it's really cool for these movies to say they were nominated, but at the end of the day, almost every other movie in this category this year knows they have no chance of winning. So why even put them through that? That's just my 2 cents. All right, let me know in the comments below what movies you think are going to win each of the categories for the Oscars. Are you an Oscars watcher, or do you just kind of catch the recap the next day? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be back again later this week with a couple new movie reviews. Until then, be kind to yourself, be nice to others, and as always, keep watching movies.